What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This week, I want to talk specifically about using the GI Bill for online programs. Today, especially with COVID, online programs are becoming increasingly popular. But for veterans, is using the GI Bill on online programs really the right call to do? In this video, we're going to talk about who should and should not be using the GI Bill for online programs. We're talking about pros and cons, BAH, and strategies to make the most out of using your GI Bill online if that is the route you decide to go. So if that is something that interests you and you want to stick around for the rest of the video, let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? My name is Jason Birds, and with this channel, I am helping you to make the most out of your military contract. We talk about military benefits, opportunities, programs, and finances to help you leverage your military contract to prepare you for a fruitful career and life after your service. So if you are a future service member, current service member, or veteran, this channel is for you. So don't miss out on subscribing to the channel, hitting the red notification bell, and sticking around for future videos. But with all that said, let's get into talking about using the GI Bill specifically online. So if you're here and you clicked on this video, you probably know what the GI Bill is. If you don't know what it is, you can click on this video I made previously and check that out to find out if you qualify for the GI Bill. But if you are a service member who has done at least 90 days of active duty federal orders or more, you do qualify for some amount of the GI Bill. First, let's talk about who should and should not be using the GI Bill for online programs. Personally, I believe the GI Bill should be used online by veterans that are already working full-time. Maybe they were able to transition directly from the military, take that experience, take that education, that knowledge that they've learned through their service, and immediately get a full-time career following that. These guys, girls have a career, a full-time job. They've got a family. They've got kids. They've got all kinds of obligations. Yet, maybe they want to use the benefits that they've earned to further their career in a field that they're already working in. This is a great opportunity to use the GI Bill for an online program that may advance your career while getting some BAH, while getting another certificate or degree. However, on the other hand, I believe that these people should not be using the GI Bill for online programs. People like myself, when I first got out and I was single, I had pretty much no obligations. I should and did go to school in person. And so if you are a single veteran with little to no obligation and not a full-time job and full-time career that you're already involved in, you should not be using the GI Bill for an online program. There are significant pros and cons to using your GI Bill for online programs. The main pros that I consider for this is the time flexibility. Obviously, if you are not required to be in class at a certain time, you have an enormous flexibility and freedom within your schedule. The second pro that I consider is location flexibility. If you are not in a location where there is a school, college, university locally that you can actually attend those classes for the program that you want to study in, then obviously there's a massive location freedom and flexibility that enables you to go to any school in the country or world right there online and not have to move to attend the classes and get the education you want. But in my opinion, the cons in this scenario outweigh the benefits. The biggest one I want to stress to you guys is the networking. You are going to school for, yes, an education, but it's not always about what you know. It's more often about who you know. The people that you know are more likely to get you a job than your certificate or your degree. So in order to make the most of those networking opportunities, you can't be online. You can't be laying in your bed typing in on the discussion board and think that somebody's going to remember your name and what you said in those discussion boards. You have to be attending class. You have to be active in class. You have to be building relationships with other students and especially your professors. If you're not building those relationships and in those classes and communicating, then you're going to miss out on those networking opportunities. I've never once asked an online professor for a letter of recommendation. I just assume they don't remember me. They don't know who I am. I'm just another person typing some stuff into the discussion board and it's very unpersonalized. Sure, maybe you can do better than I have in some of those online classes, but typically that's the way online classes go. It's about checking the box, doing the discussion boards, and getting through it, and less about the deep diving, deep learning, and building those relationships. So if you are in class in person, you have a far better chance of building those relationships with your professors and being able to ask them in the future for letters of recommendation. The other big con that I want to bring up, and maybe you guys might disagree, but I don't think that the education is as good. When you enroll in a full-time or part-time online program, you're essentially telling other students, professors, and the world that that education and that program is not your priority. And for the most part, I think people are understanding of that. If you are a parent, a spouse, a full-time employee, obviously like that program can't really be your full-time priority. So it makes sense in some cases. However, if you have no reason to justify going to school online and making that education a lower priority in your life, then that education is going to lack a little bit. You're not going to be fully committed to spending every bit of opportunity working and learning that material. You're probably not going to be reading every chapter. You're going to be, taking what you can, applying what you can in your professional career that you are in full time, and taking every bit that you can. But it's not going to be the same if you are enrolled in the class, you are doing homework daily, you are studying and actually learning that material rather than doing it to get that next degree or get that next certification. The other big con to taking classes online is the engagement. Both on the professor side and the student side, engagement is very weak. I've had professors that don't say anything to the class for weeks on end. I've had students in my classes that clearly do the bare minimum for the discussion board, and that's really all the engagement is the discussion board, is the participation via saying great job, Sally, I really agree with your post, yada yada, a few other words. And so the engagement, it's not providing much critical thinking. Nobody's challenging your thinking. Nobody's challenging you and the answers that you provide. You can basically put those answers in and just kind of like brush it off and pretend like it never happened, and that's the end of it. And so the engagement in a real live resident course is going to be way more significant from both the students and the professor's end. And so that's why another reason why I think that's a downside for going to school online if you have the opportunity to go to a resident course. The last con I want to talk about is BAH. So for those of you who don't understand, the BAH for fully online students using the GI Bill is significantly less typically than you would receive going to resident courses. Full-time students using the GI Bill currently, as of this date in 2021, are only able to receive $916 per month for GI Bill. That's the max. This is 50% of the national average for the BAH. Why do they do this? They do this so that you do not live in a cheap neighborhood somewhere in the middle of Pennsylvania where it's cheap and go to an online school in New York City where you're making $5,000 a month to live in a place that only costs you $1,000 a month to live. And so the VA does not intend for you to get rich and to make money while going to college. And that is why the BAH rate is less if you are a full-time online student. But with that said, I always want to iterate that the BAH is not actually where you should be looking for the value when using the GI Bill. The value from the GI Bill comes from the program, comes from the education, comes from the networking, comes from the relationships, comes from all the things that you're going to learn and be able to use for a prosperous and fruitful career after you graduate, whatever the program is. So if you're just looking for the biggest and best BAH rate with your GI Bill, you're gonna probably sell yourself short because that does not always equate to the most valuable education and program. So don't always think that, oh, just because I'm going to school online and I'm not maximizing my BAH, that I'm getting screwed. Think about it a little bit more long-term than that and think, okay, I know that the program I'm doing right now is valuable. I know it's going to give me this certification. This certification is going to get me this job. This job is going to enable me to make X number of dollars a year, an hour, whatever you want. So I always just want to warn you guys, don't put the BAH at the top of your priority list. It is not going to make or break your life, your retirement, or your career. Focus on the value of the education, the program, and the network that you will be building during the education process. Now let's talk about strategy a little bit. So if you have decided, based on what we just talked about and based on your personal understanding, your personal situation, and your goals and aspirations, that it is best for you to use your GI Bill for a full-time online education, then I want to talk to you about how you can make the most out of that opportunity and optimize the BAH that you may receive. And just to reiterate, don't decrease the value of your education just to increase the value of your BAH. However, if you can increase the value of both, then that is what I want to stress to you and make sure you're getting the most out of. So with that said, let's talk about how you can make the most out of going to school online using your GI Bill. Before you select a specific program and a school to attend in order to achieve your academic goals, I want you to start looking locally. And that's not to say that you have to go to school in a class every day or however many days a week, but it is to say that if you can achieve your preferred program in computer science or business management or whatever it may be for you, if you can complete a program from a legitimate university or college locally, then this might benefit you as far as BAH goes. You are only required to be in one resident course in order to get BAH. Essentially, the VA just wants to know that you actually live where you say you live and you actually live where you're going to school. So if you are going to, say, University of Florida or something like that, where you actually live there, but you are a full-time working professional, you do have a family, you do have kids, that school is a little bit secondary. You know, you've got a lot of stuff going on and you don't have the schedule flexibility and freedom to go to the scheduled classes during the week. Then you can take 3 out of 4 classes online and search for maybe one hybrid class or one class that is actually in person that proves to the VA that you are a resident of that area and that you are actually attending that school. If you do attend a class in person, that enables you to get resident BAH. And so all you have to do is be a online student 99% of the time and an in-person student 1% of the time. And this will enable you to go from that $916 per month of BAH to whatever your local BAH is, whether it be 2,000 or 3,000, or you have the ability to maximize that BAH. So like I said, it's not always about maximizing the BAH. It's about maximizing the value of your education. But if you can maximize them both, then make it happen. But that's all I have for this week. I hope that helped some of you. If you're considering using a GI Bill online, then definitely consider these points that I made. I have not used the GI Bill online, but I have definitely taken a number of online classes. And so I, recommend it for the easy classes, but the classes where you really got to learn and you really got to get deep, the sciences, the math, the STEMs, in-person classes are always preferred. So don't just look for the easy way out. Definitely take every opportunity that you can to learn, to grow, and to prepare yourself for whatever career that you're shooting for. So with that said, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If it provided you any value, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and stick around for future videos. All right, guys, thanks so much. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.